Another update on the Datsun. Got the engine for it finally. Well, at least a mock-up engine that I can use to put in mounts. I don't know if I'll go with this motor or if I'll rebuild it. Give a couple little specs on it. It's got a Holley strip dominator, a Holley 4150 circle track carb that's limited to 390 CFM, I believe. Super small bore, 1 7/16 plate butterfly. It's crud carburetor, but it's good for mock-up. It gives me a rough estimate of how much of the hood I'm gonna have to cut for air cleaner, because I can go maybe an inch lower before I start running into clearancing issues, or an inch and a half, I believe, before the pan hits. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so that cross member in the pan's right there. So I can got probably a 2-inch gap, so I can go down an inch and a half. I'll never be able to run anything other than a stock capacity pan, but I'm fine with that. I don't need 7 or 8 quart. Motor's bad. I'm gonna have to go with a short pump, water pump, because that one is up against the frame, the radiator support. Keep unintentionally zooming in. I have plenty of clearance on each side, especially on this side. I've got a lot of room. I'm gonna go with hugger, block hugger headers to try and clear the steering. I'm hoping it'll clear. I should have enough room. When I went and picked the motor up, the guy offered me for an extra $100 a set of Hoosier slicks and rims that are in the right lug pattern. So I threw one on just to see where it's at. And yeah. Hold on, come on, zoom out. There we go. Yeah, there you go. I don't know why it was zoomed in so much, but they're Hoosiers. They're E-Mod D40s, which, from what I've heard, are pretty good, strip tires. They are 26.5 by 8 by 15. The rim is, I believe, a 10.5 inch wide. Way wider than I want. If you can't tell already, tires are toast. But it sticks out a little bit. I've got a little room in the back. If I really want to shorten the axle, or maybe take these in and have them the offset changed a little bit, because it is a steel rim. But I think it's still going to stick out even with a flare. So I might go with something a little narrower. Maybe like an 8-inch rim or a 9-inch rim, width-wise. But he threw in a set of 4.5-inch wide fronts that match the rear. So if I wanted a full set, I could. Went and picked up the sheet metal to do the firewall. That is going to be coming as soon as I get the mounts done. I was going to chop all the firewall pretty much, all the way up to, I believe, pretty much right here, up next to it. Because this is a Japanese car. You have a little indent from steering on that side, which I can use on that side because they're the same distance from the edge of the frame to the center of that. So I'm just going to measure that. You can kind of see a line where I'm planning on cutting. Might have to go higher. That's going to get chopped, probably flush with this. I'm hoping I can get away with, but I don't know. Looking at a low profile distributor as the post comes out the side rather than the top, but I don't know if that's even going to clear, and if not, I'm just going to go HEI or a nice billet Holley distributor. Eventually I will go to Holley Sniper, but I'm not going to go into depth on my plans for that. All I'm going to say is this area will not be as open as it is, and this headlight will not be here. I'm going to go old Chevy hot rod, brake booster, and all that, and brakes. Right now it's drum, front and rear. From what I hear, the 520 Datsuns, you can swap the 620 front disc brake kits into this. It's just this uses a kingpin instead of a ball joint style. Some modification I can fit a ball joint style, or modify this one to fit ball joints. But I'm thinking Mustang 2 front suspension, maybe narrow it a little bit. I don't know. I'm just trying to play with ideas. I want to try and keep the 6 lug, but it's a pain in the butt finding anything with 6 lug that isn't just Chevy. Rear, I'm looking at a 9-inch. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I kind of just doing a quick update to get plans for, or input from other people. Dippy Lee shout out to you. Thank you for, showing some interest in this build. You're a huge inspiration on doing this kind of stuff. And to be honest, I love your content. Your Geo with the carbureted 2J is going to be way crazier than this thing. But I love the oddball builds, so I gotta do one myself. You brought up that if this is enough anchor for the torsion bar, it should be fine for transmission mount if I needed it. The thing I don't like is this car originally had 67 horsepower, so not a lot of stress on any of the components. There's one bolt that holds that cross member. Thinking about using this one, notching it like I was saying down there to drop the back half of the trans down to kind of level out the engine, because right now it's pretty tipped down. Having everything level is gonna make it easier for measurements and making mounts and all that. I got a yoke that's going to go into the original drive shaft, so I can use this rear end for a little bit. It's a H190 rear end for Datsuns. It is aluminum carrier. I don't know if you see the carrier, but it's aluminum 2-fin carrier. Not the strongest aluminum carrier, but it's good enough for what I need. You can kind of see how little room I have for a distributor. Shh. I'm trying to get away with using this just by cutting and extending this down farther. Maybe deepen it, because it's the right width. It's just not the height that I need. This is the drive shaft I was talking about. It is a teeny tiny little, like 2.5 inch, which I mean sufficient for mostly stock. I went with 20 gauge for the sides, and then the main backing I think is 18 gauge, so it's a little bit thicker. If anybody's got any input and has done this kind of thing before, it'd be greatly appreciated. But this is my first go doing this big of an engine swap into this small of a truck. And like I said, any pointers would be greatly appreciated, because I quite frankly have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I've done this engine swap into a Volvo, a 240, but I had way more room to work. I'll post numbers of the motors, numbers, and the heads and everything in the comments, so if anybody wants to help me out with if this is a good motor to build. From what I've heard, the 010 blocks they were like the shit to have back in the day, but it's just a truck block. So, yeah.